Okay, there we go. That's better. Sorry about that. I forgot. I forgot it. All right. Hi, folks. I hope everybody's having a good day today. That's what I just said. Yeah, we've been doing all right, Corbin and I. Fingernail bugging me there. Yeah, we've been doing some stuff and having some fun. And I posted the. You forget, you know what I mean? Like earlier on this morning, I'm like, I gotta post that thing. And then I got into doing some other things, and then I realized I forgot to post today's page. So I went and got that done before we came out to stream here today. Um, so the last week I've been doing a whole bunch of different approaches to things. And in the course of doing so, like today's page is digitally drawn, and and so it's the process of that is a little subjectively different than the previous pages this week. But it's this week what I've really been doing is a sort of monochromatic approach to pages, really like base color themes. And there's our yellow, and that's in marker. There's our red, and that's in pen. There's our light blue, and that's in pencil. And then this is we're back to the blue again, and this is digital. So a bit of an all over week, and having some fun suggestions. And how you doing, Linda? Welcome aboard. Hiya, Tim. And so today's page, I'm pretty pleased with how that worked out and what that ended up looking like. So the way I have things set up in the studio now is that I have my drawing area on this side and my digital area on the opposite. I switched them along my desk, and what that's afforded me is a little bit more. I feel like I got a little bit more space. I feel like I got a little more comfort and a little more stability for things. And so as I'm setting up the cameras and stuff now, and because of better cameras, etc., I'm feeling a lot more comfortable and confident about some of the posting that we're doing with the stream. So thank you everybody that made it through that long haul. I'm going to keep saying that for a little while. So I got a camera set up here, and in no monkey business whatsoever, there's another camera set up over there for the digital stuff. So yeah, and I'm getting used to a desk that I can elevate and drop back down again, and so I can work at a bunch of different heights, and I can stand and get a break from my back, and that's a kind of a nice feeling, yeah, I'm just going with the flow here and having some fun. But we're back on track again. So four pages this week for our one-page suggestions back on the market here. Linda says, "We're so happy for your new equipment. There's a great sound." Thank you, Linda. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. So we've got, we're going to change directions again. So we've got what? Pencil, pen, marker, digital. And today we're going to jump back into some mixed media. And mixed media has always been something that I've enjoyed doing. I've been doing it for a long time. In the one-page book, and I'll jump cameras here. So in the one-page book, I've got, there we go. So I've got all these different examples of different medium that I've used over time. But there's a fair amount of it that mixes mediums together, like pencil and pen, or, acrylic and water, or acrylic and pencil crayon, and so on and so forth. It's going to take a second to focus, I think. Better? Better. What? Come and sit down. All right, so Corbin's just entered the room. So here's one with line art, digitally colored, beside painted, acrylic painted page images, and just so on and so forth. So I really do like combining things together, and And so I took that further. What I really started getting into, incorporating brayer off pages, which is where you acrylic roll paint on a surface, and how it gives you something to work on top of. So this is a brayer off page with this green ink underneath, and then what else we got here? We got, see, there's one where it's a whole bunch of mixed media application to the surface, and then drawing on top of that. I like working on colored cardstocks and things like that. And here's another mixed media application, so you can see tapes and different types of paper in the surface. Same here, so I love doing stuff like that. That's where we get into jelly plating, and there's a brayer off. So it's all those different ways that you could approach stuff. Kind of one of the joys of all that is that it liberates you from having to worry too much and be too precious about your surface. I've always found that the most daunting thing about any project is always what I call the great white void. And what I'm referring to there is the blank paper. And so the problem with, starting right off the bat and looking at this blank sheet of paper is that what is that going to mean psychologically if you make a mistake? Do you want to move your stool over? Okay, there you go. So what is that going to mean when you make a mistake? What is that going to, how's that going to affect your progress on your project? So one of the things that really helped me was to immediately modify a surface. I often have kids say, I don't want to mess up my drawing. And so when I'm teaching any group of children or even adults, and so what I'll often do is open up a sketchbook and they'll go, oh, that's really pretty. And I'll take a pencil and go, yeah, and I'll just scribble on it. And, and they will ask why, of course. And my answer is always, because it doesn't matter. It's just my drawing. And it's okay if it's got scribbles on it or whatever on it. I don't mind. And as soon as we can encourage people to let go of that, to concern themselves less about the preciousness of the surface or the blank paper that you can make a mistake on, then it really does, allow a person to be, far less reticent about making mistakes and far more open to just exploring and creating. So yeah. So some of the fun in the sun is about to begin. Corbin, you ready? Corbin, you want to say hi? What the world did he just do? Here's Corbin, everybody.
How you doing, everybody? It's me, Coleman. What's up?
There you go. Thank you, buddy. Poor cat. Okay, so this is just green masking tape or painter's tape, whatever you call it, wherever people are. But I'm just snapping off a bunch of pieces and putting them down. And the reason that I'll do this is, well, I don't have to worry about making mistakes in my drawing process now, because right off the hop, I've gone and stuck all this green paper down here. Now, this is a heavy red cardstock that I'm using. I'll show you. So you can usually tell how heavy something is by, the smack as you hit it. Like that's paper, right? So you can hear the difference between the two. And, I like working with cardstock because it's a little more durable. It's got a little more ability to take some abuse. And, yeah, Okay, so we've got I've just got the suggestion book out, the old one, trying to finish off some things here and to catch up on stuff. Yeah, we got some fun ones in here. Lots of cool things to do still, Corbin. Someone's an out-of-date avocado, so they're spoiled. That's fun. Well, there we go. We'll do that. And that's a suggestion from our friend Marsh. Marsh Makes Comics. And good guy, Marsh. If you get a chance, check out what Marsh does. So, so first thing I'm doing is monkeying up the surface just a little bit. Now, I haven't put any other paper sources and stuff down here because I really want to play with this for whatever reason today. I'll do that on another page tomorrow. I'll do paper modifying, attachments on the surface so that I'll have like graph paper or tissue paper or whatever else laid in there. But we're going to start this way with these two complementary values. I'm just going to check to see how easy it is to see that, and it's not. So we can do, excuse me, Corbin. Excuse me, sir. It's just hogging all the room. Yeah, here we go. I got some black and white mark making tools over here. There's a jelly roll pen. There's a white pencil crayon. And there's a Faber-Castell white marker pen. All right, so we'll start with this. And then we'll also utilize some watercolor brushes. And we are cooking with the gasolines, folks. All right, so let's sharpen this bad boy up. Bad boy. And we'll get started. So, someone is an out-of-date avocado, so they're spoiled, is today's suggestion. Someone is an out-of-date avocado, so they're spoiled. Let's put it across the top. Someone is an out-of-date avocado, so they're spoiled. There we go. Yeah, so there we are. There's our suggestion for today, and that comes from Marsh. Thank you, Marsh. So let's I think you can see the white better than you could the brown. So let's go with that, and let's start with. I'm not entirely sure. Let's start with a fancy character. So let's draw a lady being silly. How's that, Corbin? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put. Is that showing up? What I can do? Watch this business. I can zoom in. If only my fingers didn't shake when I tried to zoom. Yeah, see, shaky fingers is not helping. Here we go. You gotta get the right quadrant when you do it. There we are. That's a little bit better. Okay, so, all right, so I'm going to start by drawing in our first character, and then we'll go from there. So someone is an out-of-date avocado, so they're spoiled. So let's draw. So what I've got is I've got a white pencil here, and I'm also going to use this brown pen when necessary, but as well as the white marker and the white. Today's suggestion from Marsh Makes Comics. Someone is an out-of-date avocado, so there's spoiled. Yes, excellent. So thank you, Linda. Okay, so we're going to put in. There, you can see that. I'll move it down just a little bit just to make it a little more clear. So first thing I'm doing is I'm drawing in our first character here. And, getting the structure of our character put in. So I'm going to have a lady. I don't know what yet. Just initially, I'm just drawing this lady. We'll see where that goes. But one of the big challenges with any composition is that as we're laying it in, we want to ideally have some kind of governing plan about, if I do this person in the page in this position in this scale and whatever else, how's that going to fit in the overall page? And sometimes like yesterday, we can plot out an entire page in a rough form, and then work out our finishes. And then other times, and other times like today, we can simply come at it from the perspective of, I'm just going to start drawing, and rather than worrying too much about the entire structure of it, I'm just going to go. And in the course of going, I'm going to trust myself to have the facility to follow through and just sort of go with the flow, right? He's been smacking me the entire time as I'm trying to work here, this cat. So here's our first character going into the first panel. And so I've got the form down, and then now I'm going to start putting in some of the details. Oh, we got to finish off this hand here. So I'm going to throw the fingers out here. So it's the pose is sort of a la-di-da kind of a thing here. Corbin is very needy for attention. He thinks that I'm talking to him this entire time. So we've had a relatively quiet day today. That coupled with the fact that some of the grandkids slept over last night, so he's all competitive about attention still. Okay, so this is a Jelly Roll pen, and I'm just using this to come in and apply some white to the surface of the character and to start to add a little bit more definition. And then I'm tamping it out, that crisp edge, with my finger and dragging it into the form. So just to try to give it a little bit more variation and value. So you can see how that picks up a little bit better now that we've got that crisper color on there, which is nice. Nice. And it goes across the different underlying values, the underlying colors here, so that's nice too. It works well for us. So as you see, I've got these, the white is really being applied along this side, so the decisions that I'm making is, where's the light source from? Clearly from this side, right? That side of the space. So if I keep this in mind as I'm working across, because the thing about, if you look at a photo image or something, and this is a picture from someone, on a stage at Stratford, and that's a theater here in southwestern Ontario, but the person's picture is very small, so that doesn't help me at all. And so in blowing it up and applying whatever outfit to this person as we go, we can make all kinds of little decisions that were informed by our understanding of how light works and things like that. And in this case, that's where's the light source coming from, and how does that impact the image. Trying this one more time to zoom in the right spot. Is that better? I'm sorry, it's all wiggity. Whack. There we go. Okay, well, whether that was any improvement whatsoever or not, I don't know. Poor Corbin, it's hard to compete with the grandkids. It's really not. Because everybody's like, Corbin's so cute, and they're all chasing him around. It's more of a my dad, type of a thing, and he expects this is our routine, and they're not going to disrupt it on any level. So he's kind of a fussy boy. All right. I don't think he thinks so much of it as competition as it just their annoyance, or they're in the way, or they're interfering with the pattern of things. Either way, he gets funny. So I'm putting light in here on this side, and then thinking about. So here's that part of that thumb, and there's the top of some of the fingers peeking out here. Now, another thing you can do for, moving this ink around a little bit is, rather than the tip of your finger, some people use like a Q-tip or something like that. And so, that whatever works, right? I know that there's a great deal of people out there that have a real aversion to getting any medium on their fingers, or their hands, or their clothes, or whatever else. So makes complete sense. All right, so we've got, I put a little bit of a lit up area here and into the hips here, and then we're going to go back in and put a little more detail in with pencil crayon. Please don't climb on that. He's going to get attention one way or another, even if it means he has to misbehave. And then we'll put a line on the underside of this arm. Okay, so ideally you can see the shape of the person's form a little clearer now. And so let's just add to that. Right? Right. Now I'm using a Prismacolor white pencil here, which I find works fairly well. Then you press harder with it, and it gives you a stronger, more opaque value for your white. But I still think it's actually better to use, like one of these types of markers that I've been showing you, the Jelly Roll pen, or the what's it called? Faber-Castell marker pen. I'll show you one more thing, and that is, I thought I'd have that in there. Anyways, I've got one more thing there, and that's this Fudenosuke white pen that that stains the paper surface. So, but I've also got this Faber-Castell pencil crayon. So let's see how this works as far as it goes for mark making on the surface. I seem to remember it being a little crisper than the Prismacolor. Yeah, there we go. See, it is much stronger. Oh, man. So my granddaughter is picking courses out to take in high school. Very fun and exciting time. That's the first grandkid in high school for us, so. Okay, so here's our character coming in. And because we have this more opaque white, we can add that into our composition. It's starting to define the figure a little bit more, a little more clearly. Oh, he's back to settling down. That's good. Challenge of the Jelly Roll pen is that there's a little degree of inconsistency with it because of how the ink comes out of the tip, and so it'll have this little depending on pressure, it can have this clear line in the center and white around the edges of where the pigment's going down. That doesn't help us. So using a pencil crayon, you can blend that back in. So we've got our character's figure here that's coming into play. So one of the things that I'm going to do is think about their outfit. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to lay that in now. And then we'll add, again, we'll come back to this with the various mark-making medium that we have and build up this value on the surface so that, you know, the raised areas. It's sort of similar to chiaroscuro. And chiaroscuro is a method by which you start with a dark ground and you add subsequent washes and layers to that build that up. So it sort of makes it the light come from within. So if you look at the paintings, the best example, of course, in my mind is Caravaggio. Michelangelo di Buonarroti Caravaggio. There's Michelangelo di Buonarroti, regular Michelangelo. Michelangelo di Caravaggio, so we just call him Caravaggio. That's what it is. And Michelangelo di Buonarroti is the one we called Michelangelo. And Michelangelo and Leonardo are also turtles. And ooh, I love turtles. Anyways. So I'm drawing the raised surfaces in the form of our character here. So these folds and the like, we're putting in some light value. And then we're going to put some white that wraps around this hip because the illumination is from over there. I like drawing with white on a dark surface. And one of the reasons that I like doing so is because it sort of forces you to have to think a little more clearly about sometimes when you draw specifically with line art, which is what they're generally doing with a pencil, it doesn't give you the same sense of dimension to it unless you're enough, you get enough practice and you get enough application to it. But when you're drawing with white or charcoal or something like that, there's certain things that make you start to think of things more in form and dimension. So I'm testing this Fidendisuke pen to see if it's going to stain over top of the pencil. It's not. But that's okay. We have the technology to do so. So this is the Faber-Castell marker with a marker tip on it, as opposed to a chisel tip or brush edge to it. This is just a regular old marker. But you can get all kinds of marks in there. So I think that's going to appear more clearly on camera there. So we're putting in the neckline of the shirt and filling in the shoulder area. There. So, and then we'll put our line coming down along here. So hopefully this is going to have a little more opacity to it, so it really sort of peeks out. But we'll see how we do. So we want to make sure we get that sleeve on the opposite side as well. There we go. So doing this rather opaquely doesn't tend to, or doing this, all in one white medium doesn't tend to allow opaque moments to really peek through. So one of the sneaky things that I'll do is that I'll take white gesso and I'll do so I got some white gesso on the back of my hand, and so I'm going to put little bumps in, little raised areas. That bring highlights to certain areas of the form, and which implies that they're higher up, raised away from the surface. In this case, here's the nose. You can see the bridge of the nose there. And then we'll get some of these cheeks put in. But it's just building up. That's all it really is. So it's testing out what works in combination with each other, right? I've got a really small amount of gesso here, and it's just white gesso on my hand. But it goes a long, long way, depending on how you apply it. So. Let's put some more in over here. I have one of those days where I'm highly productive, where I'm doing a number of different things in combination with each other, like getting stuff done in the studio, but at the same time, being able to pull myself away every time the washer or dryer machine goes off, so they can keep the wheels of production in consistent motion. Yeah. So I can get all the laundry done. So I'm not sure how well that's focusing on. Let's try one more time to zoom it. I think it really... Well, we got something there. We'll go with that. Okay. So going right over the red and the green lets those colors peek through, because we're doing those right over top of, or we're doing the white right over top of these two. So it lets those colors peek through and just gives some interesting complexity to the drawing with just the variation in the surface. But what's important is to make sure that I'm applying the medium in a consistent way, like whatever the medium is that I'm drawing with, and so that you're not focused on the different color backgrounds, but you're focused on the drawing itself. Here we go. Okay, so we get this shoulder over here a little more clearly defined. Yeah. Just making sure where we're at. I'm not missing anybody. I've tried my best to keep up on any comments that come in. I recognize that I'm not the best at it, so. I apologize for that. We're working on it. So I'm working out the raised surface areas with the white first. in our clothing here, in our skin surfaces, etc. London Comic Jam, for those that are in the region that might watch this, is Monday. It's coming up on Monday. What a comic jam is, for those that are unaware, is it's where a number of people sit around a space together, whether that be in a public place, restaurant, pub, whatever, or it's in um, a online forum of some kind. And the whole idea with a comic jam is that everybody, there's a few different ways that people utilize these. One is everybody works on comics or whatever their projects may be together on each one's independent thing, but just sharing space and time together, and it's sort of like helping each other be accountable to the machine of productivity, helping each other be accountable to getting the things done that they set out for themselves. Another way is for somebody to draw part of a picture and have the remainder of the surface of said picture be folded away, and so then when you pass it to the next person, they can't see what came before or what's going to come after, but they can see their little band of the drawing and fill that in, and the next person, and it's called an exquisite corpse because you're drawing a character that you can only see so much of. One of the things that we do with so that's less of sequential and more of just straightforward drawing. One of the things that we've been doing for years here in London is the London Comic Jam is somebody draws the first image, the first panel per se, kind of like what I'm doing right now. And Susanna says, "Good afternoon from Planet Joy." Good afternoon, Susanna. So what we do is somebody draws the first panel, much like I'm doing now, and then adds whatever text to it, etc. And as soon as they're done that first panel, they flip it over, put their name on the back, and then slide it to the center of the table for the next person to pick up and work from. And so the next person that applies themselves to this page has to add to the story that's been started already. And so you can get some crazy variations doing this. And it's always the best when people are sort of paying attention to what's come before. Oftentimes, though, you will get people that, I'm good at drawing this very stylized bunny. I'm just going to put that on everything. And that's fine, too, as long as they try to fit it within the context of the page that's been set out and the narrative that's been set out. But it's an all-age event, and it's what's kind of nice about that is that we can help out young creators that are interested in doing things, and and young at any age, right? Young to the process, not necessarily young in life, although we do have X amount of kids come, and sort of encourage whatever their approach is to drawing the pages. And oftentimes people have questions about things, and you do your best to answer those. But there's such variation in how people approach sequential storytelling. There's so much that can be done with this medium, and so many different possibilities that people can utilize. I don't necessarily believe there's a right way or a wrong way to go about that. You know, it's just about people finding their individual way to do it, finding their voice, their expressing approach. Oftentimes you'll hear people say, well, this is the right way to do comics. Okay. And what they're really talking about is, you know, this is the right way and according to them, and you know, how they've chosen to approach it. And it's the same as anything else in life, right? This is the right way to do that. Oh, all right. And just the right way thinking tends to leave us in stagnancy and not progress any farther in our thinking. So I like those people that challenge convention. I'm going to do it this way. What? You can do that? I didn't know you could do that. Okay, so we've got our first character coming in, and so this will be our narrator. Now, what I have to decide for myself is, am I going to do a volume around the top of the head, and you know, to define the hair, which would be a dark color by my choice. But how will I define that hair shape, because I'm drawing in light value and not in dark value? I could do a couple of different things. Like I could do a silhouette around the head. Not necessarily so much as a halo as it is sort of like a contour line or an outside line on the character. Or you know, I can use a dark value, something like, you know, this green or this brown pen that I've referred to. We're at 42 minutes already. Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So we've got some choices here that we can utilize here. So just adding another application of white to that surface, and you can always tell there's a certain point where suddenly everything pops. You know, and I think I just hit that for the face. Sometimes it takes a few applications of things. You know, as in, you know, a few times that you're putting the brush down. Doug says, hey, I'll just have to be printing a recent collection of jam pages. Oh, that's fantastic. This is Doug Rogers, ladies and gentlemen, that has been co-hosting the jam with me for years. We've been doing it for years. A lot of fun. Doug has a page on social media called Lund. Is it LDN Aunt Life, Doug? Is it? I'm trying to think, because I just click it. You know, it's just on. I think it's Lund Aunt Life, and it's town should have political. Newspaper should have political cartoons, and so Doug does one for London here, because we don't really have a newspaper that serves specifically London anymore. It's a subsidiary of a larger chain of newspapers run out of Toronto. So part of the news is from Toronto, and part of the news is London. But Doug's been doing some fun things. And has a fantastic line art. Fantastic line. Well, just drawing in general. All right, so we've got this much down here on our figure. So let's add some of this little brown pen I was talking about. So this is just a brown ballpoint pen. And so all we're going to do with this is just a couple of thin little applications here. A little contour lining. Help to clearly define the edge there. So some of the, like what I'm doing right here in this finger, is that not all the fingers are bright white in the foreground. Some of them are still in the red, but the idea of that is that finger's pushed back farther in the hand, therefore it's not as direct in the light. The real benefit of putting the darker value down is to pull the subject off of the background surface. Here we go. So our suggestion today is someone is an out-of-date avocado, so they're spoiled. And that comes from Marsh Makes Comics. Thank you, Marsh. So here's our... So my idea for this page sort of started, as soon as you start putting some marks down. So my idea for this page is basically this person talking about, so anyways, blah, 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 blah. And so the way I can have them talk, pardon me, is either to regale us with what they think is cool and hip, which may be a little bit last year, and but the things that they're relating to, can be rather mundane things, and yet, oh, this is so cool, this is trendy. I find it interesting, so many young people have hopped on to vinyl collecting, like collecting of record albums. And I remember at a point in time where you couldn't get rid of your vinyl, like as you replace things onto DVD, and you're trying to clear up some room at home, and so you're trying to do away with your vinyl with your record player, and needles got really expensive at one point, so that you got rid of your really cool albums at a pittance. And now you look at some of these vinyl collectors, and you recognize that if I had held on to those albums for just 15 years more, they'd be worth a mint. If I just let all that stuff stockpile for another 15 years. Yeah, woulda, shoulda, coulda. Okay, so just putting in dark value for the hair. I've done some rather large drawings with this method, and it's fun. It has a different kind of luminosity. Susanna says it's not the same. Oh yeah, no, vinyl definitely sounded better, and it was a real disappointment when vinyl was just being replaced by CDs, but it's just so quirky to me that younger people are like, I'm going to collect all this vinyl up. And then when you see the prices on new vinyl albums as they're being put out of contemporary bands, it's like, oh my goodness, you see these kids coming and going. Because there was some degree of stability in the price of records for a long time. Now, the whole world's changed. Boy, I remember when you used to go to the store with a nickel and you could buy 5 candies. Yeah. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Try the veal. Yeah. Corbin's sleeping now. That's good. All right, so this is what I was talking about before. I've put this hairline in for our character, but I want to really pull that off of that background. And one of the mechanisms that we can do that with is a kind of almost like a halo, but just more of a little outline around this person's head. There we go. So thin little line, and I'm applying that with this Faber-Castell white pencil. Not an expensive brand, but I really enjoy the offerings from Faber-Castell. That's what this is also one. So hopefully that makes, yeah, I think that makes the person's head pop out a little bit from the background. Susanna says there's something special in vinyl. What do you mean, like a prize? No, I get what you're saying. Some people really like that. There's a quiet comfort in that sort of a sound that you hear in your speakers as you've put the needle down, and it's picking up whatever, the as it's reading the grooves along the record in order to play the sounds, or if it's little hiccups that are in there, little pops. But there's something about that sound that people find very comforting, and you don't have any of it when it's on audio cassette at first, and then CDs. That was gone, and but there's also something to be said for one of my favorite things. And I can think of two instances off the top of my head. One is Bob and Doug's Great White North, where, okay, so this is the other side of the record. That's how when you flip the album over, that's how the second side starts. It starts with, hey, so if you're listening to this first, you blew it. You blew it, eh? Turn it off. Flip the record over and play the right side, dummy. I always liked that. I always thought it was really funny. Um, uh, Penny Boodle bags, kids these days. Yeah. Um, um, that's what Doug says. The other thing was Tom Petty did that on one of his albums as well. I'm trying to think of which one it is, and it's not coming to mind. But he said, "Welcome to the second side of the album." He just goes into the next song. But because when you'd flip an audio cassette over, like around in the machine, then you get 4, 5, 6 more tracks, or in the case of Yes albums, 3. But and then on a record, when you flip it over, you've got the second side, whereas CDs just had all of them on one side, and so that was something that was lost, that I always kind of found interesting whenever instances of that would pop up. There was a few others that I was aware of. I just can't think of them offhand. Welcome to the second side of the album, eh? Beauty. Yeah. Bob and Doug, folks. If you're not familiar with Bob and Doug, what have you been doing, eh? They have a great thing on their album where they get Geddy Lee to sing the theme song to their record. And take off to the Great White North, take off, it's a beauty, way to go. And the whole time that this is being recorded, they're like, oh yeah, I wrote that, eh? You did not. They just argue through the entire song. That's me playing the what is it he says? That's me playing the triangle. In the background, you can really hear me wailing on it. Oh, good stuff. Rick Moranis and Dave Thomas. And that all comes from a necessity by the CBC, Canadian Broadcasting, I think it is, that said you have to have X amount of Canadian content in shows made here in Canada. And so the guys were in the studio hanging out at the end of the day with some of the cameramen and stuff, and they came up with, grabbing a couple beers and creating these two ridiculous brother characters, and that represent every tokenistic Canadian thing they can think of, like wearing toques and parkas and plaid shirts and drinking stubby beers, and because back then beer bottles were short and stout with a little neck, and eating back bacon fried up on a hibachi grill. Just nonsense. And it took off, like it really caught on with a lot of American people, and it's like, wow, This is what, so it didn't do any favors to us that this is what they think of Canadians. They're not entirely wrong. All right, so just putting in some shades as opposed to all the tints there that we've already put down, and then we'll get on to the next bit. So this is our narrative voice that we're going to enter into this story through, and so this is our person saying, what's the suggestion again? Someone is out of date. Someone is an can't read my own writing. An out of date avocado, so they're spoiled. So my intention for this is some sort of culture host that is making commentary on whatever it is they're making commentary of. So I'm going to draw a couple different iterations of this person as they're flouncing about. And the idea perhaps is that I'm going to put some images in behind the characters as they move about this character as they move about the page, and the topics that they're specifically talking on, about what it is that's who it is that's spoiled or an out-of-date avocado. So I'm going to put the second form of this person in as they're just going to have a bunch of poses as they're walking across basically this, the stage in the context of the story, but and they're talking about whoever it is that we're going to decide on is an out-of-date avocado. Suggestions are very welcome in the thing. Is the pen a relative? Runcie pen. Oh, there you go. Yeah, it's a Runcie pen. Very closely associated with the Runcie men. Actually, Runcie men goes back to, I think I've tracked the etymology back to, of the name to Scotland, and it means, debt collector, workhorse. So basically, the Runcie man would work for a lord, and collect the rent owed by serfs on the land and knights that have taken a forward of money from the lord in order to have fabricated for them and to buy a suit of armor. And so the Runcie man would be the person that would go up to these fully weaponized individuals that are hard to beat, wearing large heavy metal armor, and say, hey, you owe your rent on that. So it's just crazy. And also on horses, for people that were in receipt of horses by whoever the lord was. So I don't know if they used pens though, because then you'd have the Runcie man's Runcie pen, and yeah, that's a little short-sighted. Somebody with my last name should have started a pen company. You would think Runcie pen, Happy Juice, and then that way, you'd have a Runcie pen to use, Susanna. Maybe I'll have to make my own Runcie pen. Maybe I'll have to design one. It's probably going to look like this, and tell me if you've ever heard of anything like this, because I think it's completely original. And that is, it's a really thick pen, and there's a bunch of little tabs along the top with the different color on each, and it corresponds to a different colored ink pen within this larger shaft of the thick pen. So as you press this one down, it's a red pen, and then you push that back up, and you push this side down, and it's a green pen now, and it's a black pen and a blue pen, and it'll take the world by storm. And these will never come out of production. People will use these forever. And you heard it here, folks. You heard it here, folks. You heard it here first. The Runcie pen, completely original. Maybe not, but It's the thought that counts. The Runcie pen. You get the whole marketing campaign behind this. Does your life feel incomplete? Have you tried the Runcie pen? Cool kids on the back of buses everywhere have been using the Runcie pen. And we can give all kinds of fake stats. Crime in the world has gone down because of this. Terrible testimonies. My life had no meaning, but then it got me one of these how do you say, Runcie pens. And now my life feels so good and complete. Thank you, Runcie pen. Yeah, see, it all sells itself. Sells itself. We could have a Rogers pen. We could have a Silva pen. Sorry, Susanna, but you know what color that pen's going to be. There's what's it called? Does anybody know? Is it Silver Point, where you take a small, thin, like 0.5 spool of thread, but silver thread, and you can put it inside of a mechanical pencil and or some kind of pencil holder, and as you let this little piece of silver draw out, and so what you do is you gesso a board, sanded down a little bit, after it's dried, give it another coat of gesso, do the sanding again, so you get this nice piece of surface with some depth, but also at the same time it keeps absorption of the silver that's in your pencil from going into the wood, so the paint interferes with that. But then you've got this white surfaced board, and you take this Silver Point pen and you draw on it as you would with graphite or anything else. And what's really interesting is over time, and depending on how it's exposed, it can oxidize, and so you'll get this kaleidoscope of color on the surface of that board. Really fun in the sun. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, get me some of that. Someone go out and fetch me some silver thread. Real silver, thank you. How about silver? A silver pencil. So here's our next pose of our character. Maybe what I'll do is, rather than go about finishing each one of them, let's just put the 4 of them across the page here. I think I'll play with this type of hair here and have it flow out the other side. We'll get down to that in a few minutes. First, we're going to just get this all roughed in, and then we'll come back to all those details afterwards. Trying to draw a little faster to move this along. There we go. They got a face. Okay, so there's our second person on our page. It's the same person. It's just numerous numerous views of said person as they're walking from panel to panel. No clearly defined panels as yet. Okay, so there's. I'm going to continue noodling with this until I say no. Move along, Christopher. Like now. Okay, so let's do the next. We'll do one more. Here's an arm extended. And making some kind of fancy point, I keep looking at the wrong camera right now, and I'm so sorry for that. Oh, just missed. There we go. The Runcie pen is not just for breakfast anymore. It's my go-to marketing. Okay. So there's our first three coming in. Give me a second. I need a drink. A drink of agua. What's that? Did I make a schmutz? Let's see if this works on here. It does. Look at that. Okay. It's because I smudged it with my hand. So this is another way of laying it out. It's really simplistic, just shape language, right? It's exciting about kids being able to get access to a new book of jam pages. Next week is, we got a big push next week as well. But that's for this. Sneak peek. So here's our next character. Next figure, I guess. Susanna says, and I thought it was red wine. You were making a party of your own and we didn't get invited. Well, that red wine, it goes to my head. Makes me feel like forget it. It made me feel so fine to keep me rocking all of the time. So there's our third. Okay, so here's 1, 2, 3 figures moving across the top of the page. We got room, I think, for one more. And what to do with that one more? I'm not sure. Where did I put my pencil sharpener? Yeah. All right. So we'll do one more crazy pose and So one of the things that we can do to change things up and to shake things up a little bit is have these outfits, the outfit on our character change, so that they, if we're speaking about different ideas as we move along in the page, then we can have this person's attire represent some of those ideas, those changes as we move along. And so even though this tape is randomly allocated in the midst of some of these some of the figures of these characters, it's okay, because when we go back to that first panel, we just lay it out over top of it. And I mean, you can even go so far as to take like a red pen or a red marker and start going over these areas outside of the figure. And I've done things like that before. I may well yet do that on this. But, we'll see. Just make sure I'm not missing stuff. Okay. Can't really see the head this way, but we know it's there. We'll come back to that. So here's our third character now. There we go. All right, so we've got the first 4 figures that are coming in, and I'm leaning towards someone is an out-of-date avocado, so they're spoiled. So the intention is to put, as our person is talking about such and such, and they were cool when, and such, and they were cool when, and they came by their coolness through this, or they came by their coolness through that. And so the idea being that they had an easier access to the facility, becoming the cool and the no person because they had accommodations to do so. So that might be the story approach to this. I'm still not sure yet. I tend to keep it organic. I like to figure out as I go along. But I'm going to have to call it a little short today because I have a call I have to pick up in about 10 minutes. So I got to get something done before I go and do that, and then make sure I'm ready for that phone call. So I'm going to sign off early today, but there's the start of our page, and this is the one that will be shown on Friday. And the page that I'd started yesterday, I'll show you what, by the time I'd sat down and finished laying that all out, this is what that composition looked like from us roughing it out together during the stream. So that the caper page is coming together pretty. I'm pretty pleased with how it's coming together, and so we'll have that posted. I guess that's being posted tomorrow, and then this red page will be posted for Monday morning, if not Saturday or something like that. But yeah, we're back on track for a page a day right now, and I'm feeling really good about that. And so we did the first 15 pages of the year were a little sci-fi story I was working on, and we'll figure out how we go about continuing that. But I wanted to get back to doing the 1 pages because honestly, it's there's a better feeling of of connectedness as people suggest ideas and I take a crack at them. There tends to be a sense of, while you're working on something that you're enjoying and it's yours, at the same time it's not that it's you're isolated as an individual, but there's a sense of disconnect when you're working on just this random story, without engagement with others on it. So we're back to doing some 1 page stories for the time being. Tomorrow I will be streaming in the afternoon as well. So if you're kicking around, please feel free to come on and join in. 1 o'clock, I think we'll be here. And Monday night, if you're in the London region, London, Ontario, Canada, Monday from 6 to 9 at TAP, the one of the art galleries downtown. We're doing the London Comic Jam. Doug Rogers will be there, and various others. So, yeah, okay. So, thanks very much, everybody. I hope you have a great day, and I'd love to see what you're working on. In the meantime, bye for now. Oh, and thank you to Linda, the moderator with the mostest. Bye for now.